Hey, good morning, everyone. I am indeed from London, but I used to live in this amazing, beautiful, remarkable city. And I was wandering around last night, feeling a little bit nostalgic. And when I caught sight of the Eiffel Tower, I thought of what I often think when I see that symbol, which is that it hasn't always been popular. It hasn't always been popular. And when it was being planned and when it was rising above the skyline of Paris, there are lots of people, some of the greatest minds of their day, who were saying this is such an appalling monstrosity, this is so ugly, even the Americans wouldn't build this piece of rubbish. And now, of course, it's one of the most loved and iconic structures, not only in France, but of course in the entire world. It's maybe the most famous structure in the entire world, and you'd be a very unpopular person if you tried to bring it down today. And so, for me, this is about the relativism of ideas, the relativism of thoughts. We can be very sure in our mind about things, but they can seem a little absurd a short time later. And I think one of the things that is very absurd today is homelessness. We walk past people in the street every day in some of the wealthiest cities in the world, and we're used to it. This is part of our daily lives. And for people my age or younger in the room today, I think they're going to be people coming to us and say, "Grand-mère, grand-père, you did that? They just were there in the streets, and you just walked past them?" So, yeah, this was how it was. But how could you do that? Well, this is how it was. And my firm belief is that one day the reality of homelessness will seem so utterly absurd and far-fetched. This will happen, and it's my job and the jobs of many other social entrepreneurs to bring that day forward. Now, my journey started about 3 years ago when I met a homeless person at my local train station in London. He was a man that I had walked past many, many times. He would sit on the steps, the concrete steps outside my train station day after day, and I'd walk past him tens of times. But one day, I thought I'd speak to this guy. And he told me that he would sit there because there was actually CCTV, and that made it less likely that he would be attacked. He was an Irish man in his mid-40s. He'd been out of work longer than he could remember. And over the course of a few months, I became friends with this guy. I would bring him cups of coffee. When it was getting really cold, I would bring him pairs of warm socks, like skiing socks. One time, he disappeared for about 7, 8 weeks. He just completely disappeared. And then when he finally reappeared, I barely recognized the guy. He had this big beard that was shaved off, so he had no beard at all anymore, and he looked so much older. He looked maybe 10 or 15 years older. I wasn't even sure it was him. And I went up to him and I said, "Hey, James, where have you been? What's happened?" And he says, "I had a heart attack. Been in prison. So I've been in hospital." And so I walked home, thinking about this guy, realizing that nothing I had done had made a bit of difference, really, to his life. He was actually in a much worse position than when we first met. So I thought, what could I have done? What could I have done to make a difference to this man's life? This guy who's now still on this stone, still on these concrete steps, having had a heart attack. And to me, the answer was actually quite obvious. Surely this man, he didn't need another cup of coffee. He needed the skills. He needed the confidence. He needed the support to get back into work, to provide for himself. And sure, that's going to cost more than a coffee. But what if we all chipped in? What if we could crowdfund training for people who are homeless and then support them into jobs? I used to run a tech startup, and we'd raised what was the largest ever crowdfunding round for a tech startup. And today that business has raised more than £10 million through crowdfunding. So why can't we crowdfund life-changing investments into people? One of the problems was I knew almost nothing about homelessness. So being a big nerd, I read as much as I could. And the first thing that I read really shocked me. It was that for every one person we see on the streets of the UK, there are about 30 people who live in homeless hostels and other types of emergency accommodation. And you have a similar situation here in France. The people on the streets are actually just the tip of the iceberg. You have many people who are sofa serving, who are not recorded in these numbers. And then I met as many homeless people as I could. And a few months after that, I'm in a hostel, a homeless hostel in South London. It's a horrible, miserable, depressing place. And I'm sat opposite a guy called Tony. Now, Tony has been introduced to me by a charity because a charity knows that I'm trying to build this social enterprise. And Tony's a man who's been out of work for 21 years. He's been in prison most of his life. He's been a drug addict. He's been an alcoholic. He's lost touch with his friends, with his family. But today, he was looking to move his life forward. He wanted to be an electrician. Of course, the problem for Tony was he couldn't afford the training. So I sat there and I said, "Hi, Tony. My name's Alex. I'm from this new website called Beam, and we're going to crowdfund so people like you who are homeless can build new careers." And he listened to me, and really the only thing he said that whole meeting was when he goes, "Alex, can I ask a question?" I go, "Of course, ask me anything." He goes, "I don't understand." "What, Tony? What don't you understand?" He goes, "I don't understand. Why is anyone going to help me? Why is anyone going to help me? I don't understand." And I go, "I'm not going to promise that they will, because I don't know that they will. So I'm not going to make that promise, but I think that people care. I think there are other people living in London who care about homelessness in this city, and I think they're going to do something, and I think we're going to see that." So Tony kind of trusts me enough to continue, and we visit this training center. We meet this guy who will teach him to become an electrician if we can raise his money. And then I pick up the phone. I speak to some journalists, and it turns out people do care. He's one of the main stories on BBC News. He's in the Times. He's on Sky News. He's covered, in fact, in around 10 countries around the world, a story of a homeless man who wants to become an electrician. We raise the money. Tony gets his electrical certification. And today, for the first time in 21 years, Tony is in work. And I think we have a picture of him. So this is Tony in work for the first time in 21 years. He works on big building sites in London. He earns good money. He's moved into his own flat. His relationships with his friends, with his family are transformed. And this is Beam. This is what we've been building for 2 years now. This is the world's first platform that crowdfunds training for homeless people and then supports them into work. Here you can see Danielle becoming a beautician, Rashidat, a dental nurse, Jade, an HR officer, Steph, a personal assistant, and so on. Now, all of these individuals are referred to us by charities and also by government. And as you can see, they're all doing different things. These are things that are built around their strengths, built around their ambitions. You can see some individuals don't have photos. And the reason for that is that there's particular risk issues. So a lot of those individuals are women who live in refuges in London, and they've been victims of domestic abuse. So basically, they're being beaten up by unpleasant people who want to do them harm. So in these situations, obviously, it's totally inappropriate to use a photo. And in any case, there is no traceable information at all on each profile. So let's actually have a look at what a campaign looks like. So this is Stephen, who used Beam to start work as a digger operator. Now, I met Stephen at the second hostel I went to. And when I met Stephen, he said, "This isn't for me," because he was taking drugs every day. And I said, "You're right. It's not for you. But if you sort out this issue, then it's for you. Then we want to help you." So he sorted out that issue, and he came onto the platform, and he used it to start work. Now you can see there's a story section. There's a budget section as well. And the budget breaks down all of the costs for an individual's career progression to the nearest pound. We even actually link to the exact thing that is being purchased. So it's super transparent. Donors know exactly where their money is going. Also, we have supporter messages. So 404 people supported Stephen. This stuff is so powerful because when people donate, they leave these little messages, and it completely changes how people see themselves. By the time people are referred to us, they're so beaten up by the system. They think so little of themselves so often. And what this tells them is that people care. People are on their side. People want them to succeed. And that really is such a crucial thing, you can't actually put a price on that. Now, since we've been going, this has actually proven really much more successful than we thought it would. 85% of the people who've used the platform have started work. This is a group of people who have been out of work an average of 5.5 years. We've won all kinds of awards, like Best Tech for Good in Europe, Best Financial Inclusion Organization in Europe from MIT a few months ago. We've processed about 23,000 donations through the platform. There's about 1,000 people who give each month. So you can give to a campaign, or you can give each month, and in each month, what we do is we allocate you a new person, and we use a basic algorithm. So you are getting a donation into the slowest to fund campaign. And what that means is that we use these monthly donations to ensure that every campaign funds. We funded 100% of campaigns. That's more than 170 campaigns. But really, this isn't about the numbers. This is about the people who are using this to turn their lives around. This is Davina, who has become an accountant through Beam, an accountant. It's a job that I think many people in our society would say that a homeless person should not aspire to be. An accountant? A homeless person becoming an accountant? That's absurd. Well, we disagree, and we're proving that that is nonsense. Davina is someone that had all kinds of trauma in her life, domestic abuse and other serious issues, but she's a very smart woman, and all we did was empower her to make the most of her talents by removing the financial barriers through the budget that stood in her way, by boosting her confidence from the supporter messages, by getting her to do the thing that is right for her, using the skills that she has, and that's an accountant. Another person who's used Beam, Terry. So a lot of the people we work with are veterans. They've been in the army or the military in one form or another. Terry's someone that served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And as you're aware, a lot of people come back from these war zones hugely traumatized by the things that they're seeing and doing. They have serious mental health problems. That can lead to addiction. That can lead to other problems. So Terry was someone that had all these skills, but he was in a bad way. And so we helped Terry again to move forward with his life using Beam. Now, as you've seen, this is Dakota. Dakota actually started work as a support worker. So one of the really interesting things about this model is how it's really helping homeless mums. Now, in the UK, one of the biggest homeless groups is actually mums and kids, tragically. And one of the powerful things about this model is that it's able to fund childcare. So one of the things we're so excited about in London is actually taking these new opportunities to women who don't think that they can actually pursue professional ambitions. Now, using Beam, they can actually pursue those ambitions because we can remove barriers like the costs of childcare. As you can see, this is a really transparent platform. Here is what we call our transparency dashboard. Now, you probably know KPIs, you've probably seen impact reports on PDFs and so on. We like to actually report live data in real time, so that's what we do here. So you can see that there are supporters, there are the campaigns that have been funded, 180 campaigns. 100% of them are funded, 29 days is the average time to fund, £3,411 is the average campaign size. You can see that £695,000 has been donated, and we segment that. You can see here, 68 people started work. So this is real-time social data. Now, we're just moving outside of a pilot where we brought one person onto the platform a week. We're now bringing almost one person onto the platform a day, and this model is scaling really, really nicely. If we scroll down further, We can see there's all kinds of more information here on the different jobs that people are doing under the people we support category. And we can see there's also information on diversity as well. So super transparent stuff. And you can check this out. It's beam.org/transparency. We go a little further as well because we give people individual impact KPIs. So this is what anyone who donates to campaigns on beam.org gets. It's personal impact KPIs. So here I can see that 38 of the people that I funded have started work, and so on. There's no Wi-Fi. Cool. Okay, well, this is beam.org. I just want to tell you a little bit about it. Thank you so much for listening. I just want to end by saying that when I'm surrounded by people like you in these conferences, in these events, my natural optimism really comes out. And I believe more than ever that we are going to make huge progress on these problems, actually much faster than we ever think. But really what I feel, what you feel, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. What really matters is what we do about it. And I believe the time to do something about problems like homelessness is now. So please check out the website. It's beam.org. It's super simple to remember. If I have one ask of you today, it's that please you share this with some people on some forum. Stick it on your Twitter. Stick it on your Facebook. Put it in your family WhatsApp, whatever it is. Because I believe that it's people like us. We are not the normal ones. We are not the normal ones. We're the people on the fringes who are looking at the brokenness of the world and working out how we can solve these things. It's people like us that really can change the world and build a better future for ourselves and for people who are homeless. Thank you very much.